Despite the negative response to the final season, Game of Thrones is still considered by fans and critics to be one of the greatest shows of all time. And it's easy to see why. Given such popularity, the central cast were launched into the public eye and soon became global megastars. But their time on the show wasn't always easy. There were plenty of scenes that took a physical toll on the cast due to freezing temperatures, awkward positions, and painful blunders. Indeed, after almost a decade's worth of filming, certain actors have grim memories of their time on set. So with that in mind then, I'm Ellie with What Culture, and here are 10 Game of Thrones scenes actors hated filming. Number 10. The Baptism of Euron Greyjoy with PILOU ASBAEK. Midway through the 6th season, the Ironborn must decide who will take the Salt Throne in the wake of King Balon's death. THEON argues that his sister Yara should take the throne, but this proposal is denied when EURON, their wicked uncle, gains the support of the Ironborn. Whilst THEON and Yara flee the Iron Islands, Euron goes through a baptism in which he is drowned and dragged back to the shore before he splutters his way back to life. It's a grim tradition amongst the Ironborn, and PILOU ASBAEK did not enjoy filming it. ASBAEK was routinely plunged headfirst into freezing salt water while simultaneously keeping his eyes and mouth open at all times. Matters weren't helped by the gloating faces of his co-stars, who found ASBAEK's prolonged discomfort rather amusing. You'd think such a simple scene wouldn't take too long to film, but unfortunately for ASBAEK, he had to endure this cycle of pain for 2 days. Number 9. LANCEL'S final crawl with Eugene Simon. Cersei Lannister is one of the most hated characters in Game of Thrones. She committed an extensive list of crimes over the course of her life, but her most deplorable act of villainy took place in the final episode of Season 6. Rather than facing her trial, Cersei destroys the Sept of Baelor with wildfire, wiping out her enemies in the process. Moments before the explosion takes place, Lancel Lannister, having been wounded by one of Qyburn's spies, crawls beneath the Sept and tries to reach the wildfire before it ignites. Though Lancel's crawl is fairly brief in the actual episode, filming this scene wasn't fun for Eugene Simon. He had to spend an entire day crawling through a dark dungeon in Belfast that was strewn with bat droppings, and this grim experience definitely took its toll. It was exhausting, it was bloody, it was sweaty, it was wet, it was dark. It was everything Game of Thrones is and more. But the pain Simon endured was more than worth it. The build-up to the destruction of the Sept in tandem with Lancel's desperate crawl is one of the best moments in Season 6. Number 8. The Death of MERYN TRANT with Ian Beattie. Arya Stark is a girl driven by revenge. She keeps a mental list of the people she intends to kill, which includes MERYN TRANT, the knight who killed her sword instructor Syrio Forel. When MERYN travels to the city of Braavos, he takes some time off to visit a brothel. Arya then strikes him down before he can get his hands on her, butchering his eyes and chest with a knife. Though Ian Beattie didn't endure as much pain as his character, shooting this scene wasn't easy at all. The actor had to wear prosthetics over his eyes, which meant he was completely blinded for several hours during the last day of filming. Beattie was also uneasy in the moments before his death. Given his character's deprived taste for young girls, the scenes in the brothel were tough to get through. We saw a pretty gruesome and despicable side to the character, which proved to be very, very challenging. Perhaps the most challenging 2 days of his career. But Beattie's struggle was certainly worthwhile. MERYN's demise is one of the most memorable and satisfying death scenes in the whole show. Number 7. Cersei torments Ellaria Sand and her daughter with Indira Varma. Euron's Iron Fleet causes plenty of trouble in Season 7. At the end of the 2nd episode, he attacks Yara's ships in the Narrow Sea and captures many hostages, including Ellaria Sand and her daughter Tyene. After being taken to King's Landing, Ellaria and Tyene are chained up inside a dungeon and mocked by Cersei, who then poisons Tyene, taking revenge for the death of Marcella. It was an emotionally taxing scene for the 3 actresses, but there were also practical problems. The manacles that were used to trap Ellaria and Tyene were a reoccurring problem. Sometimes they were too loose and slipped off the actresses' wrists, but they could also be painfully tight at times too. Worst of all, Indira Varma actually got stuck inside her manacles at the end of the day. Unable to free herself, a member of the props department had to use a saw to set the actress free. Number 6. Ramsay tortures THEON with ALFIE Allen. Game of Thrones has plenty of unsettling moments, and the torture scenes with Ramsay Bolton and THEON Greyjoy are some of the toughest to get through. As well as the gruesome detail and wails of terror, THEON's lack of agency makes the whole situation feel like something out of a nightmare. Whilst the physical torment that THEON endures obviously isn't real, ALFIE Alan had to psychologically force himself into a very dark place for these scenes. Indeed, Alan harnessed some of the worst experiences from his own life and channeled them into his acting whenever he was being tortured. This was certainly an effective technique. His disturbing performance is totally believable during his moments with RAMSAY, but Alan has also revealed that he struggles to watch these torture sequences as they remind him of what he was going through at the time. Number 5. Daenerys eats the heart of a stallion with EMILIA CLARKE. The Dothraki have their fair share of odd traditions. When Daenerys is pregnant with Khal Drogo's child, she must eat the raw heart of a stallion. If she can accomplish this task without retching, it's a sign that the child will be strong. Rather than eating a real heart, EMILIA CLARKE had to consume a fake one consisting of solidified jam. You'd think this would be relatively straightforward, but it wasn't. According to Clarke, the fake heart didn't even taste like jam. It was more like a mixture of bleach and pasta. And whilst her character only has to eat one heart, Clarke had to go through 28. Unsurprisingly, such an abundance of solidified jam caused the actress to splutter and vomit multiple times during the course of filming. The only upside was that Clarke didn't need to worry about her performance too much. There was no need to act when the fake hearts really were so grotesque. Number 4. CERSEI tortures SEPTA UNELLA with Lena Headey and Hannah Waddingham. Following the destruction of the Sept of Baelor, CERSEI continues her villainous ways by tormenting SEPTA UNELLA beneath the Red Keep. Here she tortures UNELLA by pouring wine on her face before delivering a bone-chilling monologue. Hannah Waddingham, the actress who plays UNELLA, has spoken about the unpleasantness she had to endure for this scene, stating, "There I was strapped to a wooden table with proper big straps for 10 hours. And definitely other than childbirth, it was the worst day of my life." To make matters worse, the final part of the scene required the actress to scream through the hands of the mountain. Given Waddingham is a singer as well as an actress, she was worried she might lose her voice due to how many takes she had to do. As for Lena Headey, she didn't enjoy filming this scene either. Though she was lucky enough to avoid any physical pain, repeatedly pouring wine onto her co-star's face was tough. She felt so guilty about what she was doing that she deliberately missed Waddingham's face on several occasions. Number 3. Jon Snow's Dragon Ride with Kit Harington. During the opening episode of the final season, Jon Snow has his first dragon ride on the back of Rhaegal. Alongside Daenerys and Drogon, the pair of them swoop past Winterfell and glide across treetops and valleys. CGI is essential when creating a scene like this, but there's still a fair degree of acting involved. EMILIA CLARKE, having been acquainted with the mechanics of dragon riding since season 5, got through this scene without too much difficulty. Kit Harington, on the other hand, encountered a rather awkward problem. Somehow he managed to get his right testicle caught in the mechanical buck he was riding, stating, "There was a bit where Jon almost falls off the dragon and my right ball got trapped. In my head I thought this is how it ends, on this buck swinging me around by my testicles." Despite this rather tongue-in-cheek description, Harrington's embarrassing accident was immensely painful. Fortunately, the actor didn't suffer any long-term damage. Number 2. Sansa's wedding night with Iwan Rheon. After returning to Winterfell, Sansa is married off to Ramsay Bolton, a sadistic psychopath who loves inflicting pain. On the couple's wedding night, Ramsay sexually assaults his young wife and forces Theon to watch. This is the most controversial moment in the show's history, and the writers received a fair amount of backlash when it first aired. Given the content of this disturbing scene, it's hardly surprising that Iwan Rheon hated filming it, stating, "It was terrible. Nobody wanted to be there. Nobody wanted to do that. Something terrible is happening and it shouldn't be. It was the worst day of my career." But strangely enough, Sophie Turner was much more positive about the scene. In the wake of the controversy, she defended the writer's decision, praising the twisted nature of the moment and how Sansa was totally oblivious to Ramsay's sadism until their wedding night. Needless to say, Turner is in the minority here. Just like Rheon, most people were horrified by Sansa's wedding night. Number 1. The Battle of Winterfell with literally everyone. The latter half of Season 8 received a lot of criticism from the fanbase, but the first 3 episodes were pretty good for the most part, especially the long night, which featured the epic Battle of Winterfell. Whilst the episode is longer than it needs to be, there are plenty of terrific action sequences throughout, and as you might expect, filming such a huge battle was a grueling experience. The cast and crew had to work for 11 weeks in freezing temperatures in the middle of the night. A typical day of filming started at 6 o'clock in the evening and finished at 5 o'clock in the morning, and this punishing schedule soon took its toll on the actors. Indeed, Jacob Anderson, who plays Grey Worm, said that everyone looked slightly haunted by the third week of filming. Even the crew members struggled to get through the Battle of Winterfell. Director Miguel Sapochnik said that he never wanted to do anything like it again, and the stunt coordinators were also shocked by the number of problems they encountered. Thankfully, the turmoil was worth it in the end. Season 8 has many problems, but the Battle of Winterfell is far from disappointing. And that concludes our list. If you can think of any other examples, then please do let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Also, head over to Twitter and follow us there, and I can be found across various social media just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.